Hi everyone and welcome to Chess with Arsalan. In this game we are going to analyze a game that started as a very dry and solid game with a very dry and solid opening, but at the end with a smart Vasily Ivanchuk, it turned out to be a, let's say, a strategical masterpiece, a positional masterpiece. So this game was played between Vasily Ivanchuk and Bareev in 1993. This was one of the Ivanchuk's peak years, and it was played in Linares 11th round, where Ivanchuk faced with the rating of 2710 against Evgeny Bareev 2670. So Ivanchuk played e4, and after e5, knight f3, knight f6, we have Petrov defense. And we know that this is not the most exciting chess opening in the world. So they continued, and after knight f3, knight d4, d4, d5, bishop d3, bishop d6, all a standard opening. Here, Vasily Ivanchuk played c takes d5. And after c takes d5, knight c3, here Bareev played knight takes c3, leaving the c pawn apparently a weak pawn on the position of white. But here Bareev made a mistake that it doesn't appear to be a mistake at the first glance, because it's a developmental move. He played bishop g4 here, but this is very critical error, because by leaving the bishop from c8 square too early, he is leaving too many squares behind it weakened. And don't forget that the b7 pawn also needs some protection. So this was a minor mistake that he played at the time. So after that, Ivanchuk immediately took advantage of this move and played rook to b1. Now he's attacking on b7, and Bareev here had to play b6 as the response. There are alternatives to this move. Number one is queen to c7, and this creates a threat of taking on f3 and after that taking on f2. But here white can do that. White can, let's say, oppose that threat with playing bishop takes h7 check, and after king takes, knight to g5 check, king to e8, queen takes g4, and this position is winning for white. Why? Because first of all, you cannot take on h2, because after king h1 and returning of the bishop, queen h4 and mate on h7 is coming, and you do not have enough resources to prevent it. So queen c7 is not working in this position. The best response in this position was knight to d7. Remember, develop your knight first. So here white cannot play rook takes b7, because after knight to b6 the rook will be trapped. The most logical answer would be h3, and after bishop h5, rook to b5, and now rook is attacking d5 square and b7 at the same time, and he's also threatening to play c4, and in case of having c4 taken, you can take on h5 and start an attack on the king side. So knight b6 is probably a must in this position, but c4 comes anyway, and after bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, d takes c4, bishop c2 is the move. And after queen d7 a4, here yes, white still is having a very good game. He is having attack on both sides, both on queen side along the b file and on the king side, but black is still in the game. So in this position, knight d7 was probably the best option, but Bareev played b6, and here white played rook to b5 anyways. And after that, body of response was bishop c7. The question is that, question in this position is that, can I drive the rook from b5 with a6? The answer is no, because here white can play rook takes d5. And you might wonder, okay, this is a self-termination, because I can play bishop h2 check, and after that take on d5. But after bishop takes h2, instead of taking with the king, white will play knight takes h2. And in this way, the bishop will be under attack, the rook is attacking on the queen, and also queen is attacking on the bishop. So After exchanges, for example, bishop takes d1, rook takes d8, rook takes d8, rook takes d1. Here white will have two bishops for the rook and very active play, and this would be winning for white. So after rook to b5, a6 is not an option, and also the same goes for knight takes for knight c6, because again white will have knight takes d5, and the same story will repeat itself. So here in this position, bishop c7 was played, and after h3, putting a question on the bishop on g4, white here played black, excuse me, played a6 first, and he's trying to drive the rook away from the fifth rank. So for example on the b1, so when he puts his bishop on the h5, there will be no threat with c4. So this is what is black doing with playing a6. The bad news is that this is not going to work, because here white played an excellent move, h takes g4, sacrificing an exchange. And by sacrificing this exchange, white is gaining two bishop advantage, very strong pawn on g4, which will have a decisive role in limiting and advancing in the king side, as well as putting black's pieces in a very bad position. So a takes b5 was played, queen c2, threatening h7. So g6 is a must here in this position. And now, as you can see, the darkest squares around king side, black's king side is weakened. And here white played bishop takes b5. Very strong move. You should not play bishop a6 in this position, because black will simply play rook to e8 and black is still in the game. But when you play bishop b5, first of all, you are limiting the squares that knight can go into. Second is that you are limiting the rook's movement. Now bishop h6 is a threat, and it can actually take an exchange. And also, if you look at the position, the rook on a8 does not have anywhere to go. So black's pieces are actually quite limited in this position. So black played here queen to d6. What else he can play? g3 and rook to a7. One of the few squares that rook can step into. Rook to e1, taking control of the e file. And after knight to d7, here comes the g5. It's preventing black from playing knight f6. It's also limiting the space on the king side. And now white's long-term plan is to play king to g2, rook to h1, knight to h2, and after that g4, and try to create an attack on the king side. And this actually happened quite quickly. Here black played rook to d8, and after a4, fixing the bishop here, knight to b8, knight h2, and after king to f8, knight to g4. Now white has full access to these darkest squares and it's controlling them very well. Bishop d6, excuse me. And now the last phase of the attack, king to g2, making room for the rook. And after king to h8, rook to h1, queen to g7, here white played knight f6, preventing black from playing f5 and also creating the threat of rook takes h7 checkmate. So the only answer for black would be h5, and here after queen to d1, white resigned. Why? Black resigned, excuse me. Why? Because white is trying to play rook takes h5, check. The only way to oppose that threat is to take on h5, and after queen takes h5, this is actually checkmate. You cannot come to the g8 because the knight is covering it, and the only way to stop the checkmate for one move is to play queen to h7, and after that you're losing. Very simple. So I hope you enjoyed the game and see you in the next video. Goodbye.